haven't got the skinny on that yet, which sucks. Took me by surprise.
Kathy said a few people have left so far. She had a few have, but 6:05 says. There was a public hearing last week. It was in the paper. But either way, I think we need to
Do it. Just do it.
Council meeting August 20, 2013.
Hey, everybody will get an opportunity.
Microphones are on. We're ready to go.
Ready.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Twyla?
Councilor Garrison?
Present.
Councilor Bickford?
Present.
Councilor Pesky?
Present.
Councilor La Rochelle?
Here.
Councilor Ward?
Here.
Councilor Mason?
Here.
Councilor Lunt?
Here.
Okay, read the meeting rules, please.
Yes. The reading of the minutes for the meeting rules are, please note that we have provided you with a document on the reverse side of your agenda, and it outlines some simple meeting rules. If you wish to address the town manager or the council, the process is outlined in the meeting rules document. Remember to identify who you are and where you live, and remember to speak clearly into the microphone located at the table in the center here of the room so that the television audience can hear what is being said. If you require clarification or need immediate assistance with any materials provided, please see the town manager or myself.
First item, Twyla.
We begin with the public hearing for the consideration of up to a $1 million bond order for acquiring, demolishing, and/or renovating the Warumbo Mill. The chairman has asked that at this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council to come forward to speak. Remember to use the microphone here, please, and so that everyone can participate, we'll start with a limit of 3 minutes per individual.
Madam Chair, would I be possible to step down so I can participate as a citizen?
Certainly.
Any questions?
Do we have audio visual for this meeting?
Yes, it's running.
The camera is on.
Very good, thank you.
On behalf of the council, I'd like to welcome you all to this special hearing so that we can learn how you all feel about what we should do about the Warumbo Mill and its related properties. This is our opportunity to hear what Lisbon citizens have to say about this matter. It's a big venture and represents more than one possible future for a very important section of our town. What we hear today and the decisions we come to will prove to be key to the future of Lisbon. About 8 months ago, Miller Industries offered the town council the opportunity to purchase Warumbo Mill and the Mill Street property at a reduced price. Since then, we've done our due diligence to see if this site is something that could be beneficial to the town. The council sees the control of this site as an opportunity to move forward with the Route 196 master plan. This proposal could change the face of our community and help our growth toward the future. We welcome your thoughts, your questions, and the opportunity to share what we've learned about what needs to be done at Warumbo and what has been done so far. This will help us see the direction Lisbon wishes to move on this matter. We'll begin now. I ask that we all remain patient and give each other the opportunity to speak.
Larry Fillmore from Lisbon. For the past 2 years, this town has raised our taxes. If you look around the community, you will see businesses closed, friends and neighbors have left their homes and moved away and put their homes on the real estate market. This crisis was not caused by the Warumbo Mill, but the cost of living in Lisbon. People cannot afford to pay these ever-increasing taxes. There is absolutely no need for these tax increases annually. The council has to recognize the fact that as businesses close and people move out of town, the tax base becomes smaller and smaller. Now, instead of any attempt at cutting costs, the council wants to increase spending by floating a bond for $1 million. If you add the upcoming loss of $385,000 in revenue sharing, coupled with the repayment of this bond, and you're looking at an additional tax increase next year. The council has to find a way to increase revenue in Lisbon. Some of the things this council can do is to turn dispatching responsibilities over to the Androscoggin County Dispatch, which will save the taxpayers a minimum of $250,000 tax dollars and possibly up to $500,000. In July 23rd, '87, the mill burned. It was covered by insurance, and I'm sure Miller Industries received a healthy settlement. The reason Miller Industries has reduced the price is to dump this property onto the town. It is apparent Miller Industries has washed its hands of this property because they have never reinvested or renovated the mill with the insurance money. Now they're trying to get out from under the responsibility and the liability of the mill. One estimate we have here is for over $2 million to renovate just the exterior walls, roof, and skylighting. If this is true, then why is the town not going after Miller Industries to correct these code violations? If the structure is unsafe, it is Miller Industries' responsibility to make this structure safe.
Thank you, Mr. Fillmore.
Okay?
Arlette Anderson, Lisbon Falls. I have been reading these articles on a regular basis, and I've also listened to a lot of townspeople. Being a taxpayer in this town, I'm going to ask 3 specific questions. We want to come up with this money. You're going to raise more taxes. You have a lot of veterans who live in this town, too. And you know what? Those houses are going to go on the market because us veterans cannot take it much more. You're hitting us in the pocket. Second thing, we have a public works building that's falling around downtown us. We want to spend money on this mill. Third, we have a gymnasium that's never been really fully built. We have an excellent basketball team. We have an excellent track team with no track for them. We have no lights at the high school, but yet you still want to spend money on this bond that, you know, the Times Record did an excellent job writing, okay? Furthermore, people who are in position of authority here at our town council had this meeting held here when it should have been at a school because we have people out there in the hallway who can't even sit down. Is that fair to your taxpayers? We pay taxes in this town. Last thing I'm going to say is this. When we put money into your pocket, turn that money back to us. Don't go ahead and sell property to people who are undercutting the rest of the taxpayers who have not even let it go out to bid. Any comment?
We're here to listen.
Okay.
Debbie Berry, Lisbon Falls, Maine. Again, I state with her, also being a veteran, that my property taxes are going to go way sky high, and fixed income people cannot afford additional tax revenue increases to buy a private property. I checked in the public order that announced you're going to provide a purchase and demolition. Now, in the town charter, there's no authority to do these types of actions. And when, at 8 months ago, did you publish that a conversation took place between Mr. La Rochelle, Mr. Eldridge, and a private property owner to buy their private property? They already received their insurance money. There shouldn't have been a discussion. At this point, I move that you strike number 7, 213-124, 213-125, 213-126, and no further minutes of our taxpayers' money be used to discuss this issue because you have no authority to do it. You do not have authority to do it. You must stop. Cease and desist.
Ms.
Thank you.
Berry, thank you. I will respond to that because I don't. I will respond to that as a courtesy to both Ms. Berry and the audience. It's not just a question that's being asked about the Warumbo question, but it's a question that's being asked about rules. Ms. Berry, I disagree with you that it's a charter, and this is not the time for that, but I disagree with you.
You're educating me, you're saying it is in the town charter. Please provide the paragraph and the section so I can refer to that. So when my taxes
Ms.
go up
Berry,
and I have to
please
sell
allow
my
me to
property.
respond. Thank you.
No, I'm asking you to show me in the charter.
And I'm telling you,
Where's your source?
now is not the time. Please remain seated.
Then you need to cease and desist. You need to cease and desist.
We're going to allow somebody else to speak.
Ken Wells, Lisbon Falls. I'd like to see if you guys would make a motion to postpone this section of the meeting and hold it at the elementary school, because when I pulled into the parking lot, there was a lot of cars that were trying to find a place to park and had left. I'm not sure if they parked across over at the credit union or not, but I think you're doing a disservice by letting people who wanted to attend this meeting couldn't, where it should have been held at the elementary school to begin with. Thank you.
Amen.
Twyla, I'm going to ask, can you read us the purpose of this hearing? As we published it. Yes, please.
Okay, yes. The municipal officers of the town of Lisbon, being the Lisbon Town Council, are considering approval of an order providing for the issuance of general obligation securities for the purpose of providing up to $1 million for the purpose of acquiring, demolishing, and/or renovating the property known as the Ramambo Mill. The funding of this project requires that the town issue general obligation securities pursuant to Section 6.09 and 8.11B2 of the Charter of the town of Lisbon. Approval of the issuance of general obligation securities requires that a public hearing be conducted concerning said issuance. Therefore, pursuant to authority under Section 8.21B and pursuant to the requirements of Section 6.09 and 8.11B2 of the Charter, a public hearing shall be held on the 20th day of August 2013 at 7 p.m. at the Lisbon Town Office, 300 Lisbon Street, Lisbon, Maine, for the purpose of hearing public comment on the bond order intended to raise up to $1 million for the purpose of acquiring, demolishing, and/or renovating the property known as the Ramambo Mill. Copies of the proposed text may be viewed or obtained at the clerk's office, 300 Lisbon Street, Lisbon, Maine, or online.
Thank you. I asked Twyla to read that over for us so that we can be clear about our reason for being here. Our reason for being here is to discuss whether we should take out a bond, not whether we should accept a bond right now, just whether we should ask the people of Lisbon if we would like to take out a bond. Now, that's what we're here to listen to. And I'm sure that there are more than one opinion because there are many people here. The idea, Mr. Wells, of postponing the meeting to another time so that we can have a larger space. I took a straw poll before we started this hearing of the council. And to us, it does a disservice to the people who did come out today and did come out to make sure that they are heard. We also took into consideration the past several hearings that we've had and the turnout that we've had. Each one of those hearings is for equally important issues. We've had hearings about other tax issues. None of those hearings warranted a need for a large space. So I think it's a disservice. I'm willing to ask council, how do we feel about this? But I think it's a disservice to the people who did come. This is not a, we do it now and it's over with process. This is the beginning of the process. Do you have thoughts, Greg?
My thoughts are simply the same thing I've said before. I believe this needs to go to the voters. It needs to be up to the voters, period. It is not,
Advance it.
that's fine.
Order! Order!
I understand that, ma'am. But I still think that this is a decision that should be left up to the voters, not up to the council.
You don't have
Not all the
authority to
voters are
advance
here.
it.
I
Roger.
disagree. Under section 1.02, we are allowed to purchase property for any,
We have our lawyer here this evening to answer any legal questions we need. So let's move on. Roger, how do you feel?
Maybe we ought to give a hands vote, see who, if they want to postpone it.
Of the audience or the
Yeah.
council? All right.
The
I
audience.
want to postpone it.
I think I think that's a good idea. Gina?
I have a question. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe in order to have a vote, we have to have the percentage that voted for the governor a few years ago.
We don't have to have any percentage of people here right now. The council can take a straw vote if we so desire, so that we can get a feel for how the audience feels.
Okay, can I ask another question then? Should this go to a vote, okay? And then we have to go a vote in September, when we're gonna be voting in November. That's gonna cost us all another $5,000.
That's another thing, that's a separate issue that we also need to decide. So let me continue with council. Dylan?
I think this is an opportunity for people in the public to voice their opinions. But one thing that we got to keep in mind is the order of the meeting. We will not get anything accomplished tonight if people are out, bursting out, not in order. I'm going to encourage Madam Chair to continue our meeting, but if we have another outburst, it'll be my recommendation that we cease with the meeting.
Gina?
I think that the purpose of this meeting was to bring the public forward. We have no way of knowing how many people are going to show up at this meeting. This is the size room we chose to have when we built this building. It's an extra time. We had already posted, the meeting was supposed to be here. I feel that the folks that came out tonight have taken the time and the effort to come. If there are those in the hallway that would like to come up and stand along the walls, I think they're welcome to do that. And also, if there's anybody in the hallway that cannot hear well, just move closer to the door. And also, if there is somebody in the hallway who would like to speak, I suggest we form a line if people would like to speak. And also, I just would like to point out that there are people in this audience that are shaking their head no, and they're bursting out. And those are the same people on other issues that have told us to bring issues to the people. And that's exactly what we've done tonight. We've brought this issue through a process to the people. We're not telling you the bond is going to happen tonight. We're telling you this is part of the process to possibly make the bond go to a vote. So no final decision will be made here tonight. There will be probably other times to talk about this, and there's actually things on the agenda that will further this tonight. So my suggestion is we continue with the meeting, we continue with it civilly, and we have our lawyer here. He'll be able to answer questions for us, and I just suggest we move on.
I think we should also let everyone who's here speak tonight, and I'd be in favor of having another meeting at some point before any election so that people have more chance to speak and get any information or give information they want to get out before then. So I think the people who are here tonight should be able to have a right to speak too. They might not be able to make it another night.
Thank you.
You invited the folks that are out here, and I'm counting probably like 25 people out here. If they were to come in here, what's the fire code for having that many?
50 people here.
Is it 50?
I would bet that there's probably too many if you did that. I'm just,
Good point.
I don't know.
There's, just in this area here, there's 50
54.
people. There were 47 plus these three gentlemen.
That's the limit of
That's the limit of this room, yes.
Are there any in the hallway that want to speak?
Is there anyone in the hallway who would like to speak? Can you also tell me if you see other hands out there?
Anybody else want to speak out here?
If you could form a line at the door so that we're aware that you're there and would like to speak? If-
So for you to say that this is a public hearing where everybody should be able to hear what the comments are, you can't hear those comments out there, it's very difficult. I don't know, but I sometimes think maybe while you straw poll the council, why don't you straw poll the audience? And ask them how many would be willing to have this meeting another night in a bigger space.
Thank you,
I
Norma.
agree with Norma.
May I speak?
I agree with Norma, too. Go ahead.
I'm here tonight. I would be very happy to come back anytime so everyone can hear and everyone can participate, because I think it's important to everyone in the town to get all the information.
Thank you.
I'm willing to do it, and I'm sure there's many other people in the room that are willing to do it. And I think in order to be fair to everybody, it's not fair for the people out there not to be able to hear. Maybe they don't want to speak, but
Thank
they
you.
should hear.
I hear you. All right, I'm gonna take Norma's advice and the advice of several other people, and by a show of hands only, who here would prefer to continue the hearing today?
There's two out there.
Continue today.
Today.
Who here can,
Can you clarify, continue the whole meeting or just the section that covers the Warmbro Mill?
the public hearing?
So not the whole town council?
No.
No, our council meeting will continue.
I have a question, Lisa.
What about Article 7?
Thank you.
There's three issues there that pertain to this.
If we need to postpone the meeting, then we will have to remove those items from today's agenda, correct? Yeah. We're not going to continue on with them if we don't have a hearing. Who here would prefer to come back another time? Right.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
All right, we're taking names. All right, council?
I would make a motion that we
Table.
table the hearing. We will advertise for a new location for the next available council meeting.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed?
What sections does that cover?
That covers the public hearing. When we get to the section on the agenda that addresses those issues, then we'll take action to remove those items.
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you, Twyla. We'll move on to the next item.
Which is our regular audience participation. At this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward. Would you like to take a 5-minute recess?
Yes, I would.
All right.
Yep.
We can stand recess for 5 minutes.
Your opinion, sir? And your opinion?
The cameras are still on now.
I can't do any derogatory.
Basically, as we come to each one of the next items, we'll remove them because we haven't done it here.
I believe the Finance Committee is having a meeting concurrently, so anyone who needed to be at that meeting, I believe they're taking a vote tonight.
Huh? Well, yeah, we're gonna move it, but it already says here.
Hang one second, Larry, because, well, come up here.
Up here?
Sorry, I thought you were waving at me.
Well, you can come up. We're taking we're taking 5 minutes. Did you need to ask
Yep.
something?
It turned out that we expected. I thought we should have it at the school.
You want to wait until we continue with the meeting and we have audience participation? Okay, great, thank you.
Like everybody is ready to leave.
Changed that and everything. Can I finish what I was speaking?
We'll have regular audience participation.
Can I finish what that presentation I was in the middle of?
Yeah, I tried to wait until you were finished with thought, so because I didn't want to interrupt you. We did say that we were having a 3-minute limit, so I needed to.
Oh, that didn't go very good at all.
I didn't think it would.
But yeah, I don't,
I've stood out in the hallway, you can't hear squat.
I know that.
That's why I just had 3 paragraphs, 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, I talked to Steve about it earlier in the week.
Can I finish
Like,
this?
we've already said it's gonna be here, we can't move it yet.
Everything is no longer on the agenda.
it's audience participation.
Like, oh, yeah, I
For
suppose.
audience participation, you can finish.
I would think it's
break your rules.
for, other than the assumption that, no, we could.
You know what's gonna happen, don't you?
Huh?
Yeah, I've been in school 5 people.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I think we'll get it. But yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, we have school. I think we should. Although, we're not debating on whether to do the bond. We're debating on put it to a vote.
The tape recorder is still rolling. Let you know. The tape recorder is.
I'd like to call this meeting back into order.
It'd be a good crowd.
1 second.
Yeah.
I gotta
have
ask.
all in the same room, right?
Everybody wants to stay, I guess, huh?
Guess so.
Talk to the guy that does this.
Oh, what do we?
There's a problem with it. You can't read the far side.
Okay, I'll talk to him.
Let's see if he can do something about that.
All right.
I'd like to read the whole thing.
Tempting, isn't it?
Okay.
I'll download as a PDF. It'll come up fine. But
Ready to begin with audience participation?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. At this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward to address items or issues that are on the agenda for this meeting. Please use the microphone at the podium or the lectern and state your name and your address for the record so that everyone can participate. Doesn't look like you'll still need a 3-minute limit, but you may need to.
We want to make sure everybody has time to speak, so we've already moved the hearing for Warumbo Mill to another time, and we'll discuss that for scheduling, but if there's anybody who would like to say anything during audience participation. Mr. Fillmore?
If the structure is unsafe, it is Miller Industries' responsibility to make this structure safe. It is crazy to saddle the taxpayers with any more debt. If the people are going to be forced to vote on this ridiculous scheme, why are we going to hold a special election at a cost between $3,000 and $4,000 when in November we have an election which is less than 90 days away? What is so critical the taxpayers have to waste money on a special election? What is the unaccounted for $55,000 going to be used for? The fact sheet accounts for $945,000 on the bond. You're asking for $1 million. Anyone in favor of this needs to have a checkup from the neck up. I want to commend the Finance Committee and the Council for reducing the slush fund from $145,000 last year to $140,000 this year. The accounts are basically the same in the transfer and the carryovers. The one I love the most is the TIF fund, which last year was padded by approximately $84,000, and this year it was padded by $87,000. Normally, transfers are done at the end of the year to cover areas that you have overspent more than anticipated, but not in Lisbon. Transfers are done at the beginning of the year to move money that was hidden into areas where it can be spent easily without the people knowing it. I understand the policy of adding 5 or 10% to an account to cover emergencies, even though we have an undesignated fund account for that. But adding $140,000 plus to a budget and then raising taxes to cover it up is almost like stealing. Thank you.
Mr. Neto had his hand up first. Thank you.
My name is Richard Nettle of Lisbon Falls, Maine, and I have one question for the council, and it pertains to what you got here for the Trails Committee update. Are we going, has the Trails Commission decided if they're going to put a bicycle rack up by where they park to use the trail in the falls area where the Sabatis River comes into the Androscoggin, down in that area or not? Has this been decided? I'm looking for some information to supply the athletic director.
Thank you. Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Dorothy Fitzgerald, longtime resident of Lisbon Falls. I really don't want to disappoint you by not speaking. You've known for 8 months that Mrs. Miller has offered this property to the town for that amount of money, $100,000, and now it's coming up to the public. I don't understand why it's a life and death matter at this time to vote for $1 million. I'm not bringing up personalities, but not everyone on this council is a taxpayer, owns property, and pays real estate taxes, and yet you're voting to raise my taxes. On the pamphlet here, public hearing, it says that the real estate taxes, 2012-2013, on the Warumbo Mill property is $4,939. The building is considerable size. I know it's deteriorated, and it has how many acres? 3, 4, 5, 6 acres, long frontage on the Androscoggin River. And yet, my taxes on my little piece of property on School Street are over $3,200. I'd like to know how you get a tax break like that, because I really could use one. The Warumbo Mill is a landmark. The Kennebec Moxie store is a landmark. Everyone would like to see that torn down. Graziano's was a landmark. That's torn down. As much as I would like to see the Warumbo Mill remain, I'm going to vote no on this, and I don't see why the taxpayers have to pay over $3,000 for a special referendum for this bond. What is the hurry? It shouldn't even come to a vote right now. It's not the time. You drive through the town of Lisbon, as I do, as all of us do, and you've reduced taxes. There are less people in public works. There are less people in the transfer station. There are less people in the, Verla Brooks department, and yet you drive along and there's weeds between the sidewalk and the curbing. Town can't afford to hire people to take care of that, and yet you want us to vote a $1 million bond. This is totally, totally, totally unacceptable.
Mr. Cody?
Roger Cody, Lisbon Falls. This year, when we had our budget, if I recall, we took money out of the paving because we couldn't afford it, right? We cut the transfer station 1 day a week because we couldn't afford it. I would like to know why all of a sudden we can afford to go out and get $1 million bond for a white elephant that everybody hopes burns every night when they go to bed. Down there where there used to be a ball field behind the Warumbo Mill, in the lower corner of it, there's tons and tons and tons of coal ash. That's a big pollutant. That's a super fun cleanup. And Lisbon really wants that? I don't, you talk about a checkup or the neck up. I totally agree with it. I mean, this is totally ludicrous. This building is completely, totally taking somebody off the hook that wants to dump it. And are we, as Lisbonites, that stupid? I mean, really, look in the mirror and just ask yourself, my God, you come into Lisbon from Topsom? I often think I'm in Iraq. Everything is demolition going on everywhere. You come down from Lewiston into Lisbon, those buildings are all flattened out in parking lots. People's houses burned down. And that's on the internet. The point that I'm making is, I don't know that I trust you people to make any good decisions about buying any properties in Lisbon. It's not a real promising adventure as far as I'm concerned, and what I can see out there. I think we better really think about this one, folks. Thank you.
I'm Brenda Heath, and I live in Lisbon, and my property taxes have gone from, in 11 years, from the amount of tax that I was taxed on was $131,500 when I bought it. It went from there up to $178,000 on the same amount of property. It's aging as it goes. It was built 24 years ago. I'm being way overtaxed. I've had to fight and fight and fight to get it down. Now I'm down to $3,200 a year, even though I've done all the fighting and everything. And the house is deteriorating. When I called the town, I think it was probably a month and a half ago, said Hewden Road on one corner, that's been a dangerous corner for a while, half the road was washed out. People were going around into the other lane. They told me there was no money in the budget to fix that until the new budget come in, and then they could afford to fix it. The Hewden Road is deteriorated, the Ferry Road is deteriorated, and I think our money could be much better spent on the things we have now. When we purchase something, we're gonna have to maintain it. There's another cost in there. It's not just doing this little bit here and there. It's gonna cost us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Heath. Would anyone else like to speak?
I listened, Richard Chaddick, Lisbon Falls. I listened to all this, and I have to quite agree. We don't need a special session to spend money on this thing. I think it's ludicrous, but I'd like to say that even I mentioned a small little thing that happened. Fern knows. About a year or so ago, I came to the big boss, and he sent me to the engineer, and he said, I'll look into it. And when I was done, I said, well, are you going to take my name and telephone number? And this is the attitude I got as I walked out. And so I know not much was done. This is a safety hazard. You come down High Street, and there's bushes on this side. On the left, that big brick church is close to the street, and there's bushes on that side. And if they're not cut down low enough, you have to go past the crosswalk into the street. And last winter, I slid a little bit, and if the person wasn't quick reflexes, I probably would have get hit, and it would have been my fault. Now, I saw a guy mowing the lawn. I said, I mentioned it, and he says, I'll tell you what, when I do it next time, I'll cut them down lower. My golly, I come down, and they've been cut down lower on that side. So now I got to go and speak to the other church guy and get it done. But when little things can't be done, I just soon get on and have a friend send a text to the DOT saying, we got a safety hazard, but nobody gives a shit. And this is the way I feel about this thing here. We don't need it. And we got taxes are going to go up and so on. And if the little things have no feeling, getting a shaft doesn't matter because it's going to come sooner or later. That's my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Dean Willie, Lisbon Falls. I have just a couple questions. Actually, I have a page full of questions, but I thought we're skipping over these three sections, but I guess we're not. I've heard it asked a few times tonight, but I haven't heard any answers to the questions that I asked, so I'm going to ask it again, and I'm going to wait for an answer. If you're not going to answer, just say, go away. Anyway, part of tonight's agenda was to approve the special election on September 24th. Why does there have to be a special election for this bond issue?
We'll actually answer during the answer period, so.
Okay.
I'm writing your
Okay.
questions
You're
down.
right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My second question is a follow-up to that. Why not just put it on September 5th's ballot? November 5th's ballot, I'm sorry. I have it written right here. It says it, November. And my letter C question, what was the reasoning behind choosing that specific day? Is it because of fiscal year, quarterly decisions? I'm not sure. Financial, the 24th. I'm not sure. That was my question. I haven't heard anything about that. And it was answered earlier, I think. What is the total cost, and Twyla can probably answer this, the total cost associated with this special election? Because from what I heard, it's probably wrong. It's an estimated $3,000, but that's on top of losing, if you do buy the property, you lose $4,900, I think, Dot, right? $4,900 in taxes and $7,500 at $4,939. So it's $7,939-ish worth of money that we really don't have, at least right now. So those are my questions. I had more, but I thought we were skipping the sections. Anyway, thanks.
Thanks. It's up to you two.
Take it first? I'll be very quick. Very quick. Debbie Berry, Lisbon Falls. If for some reason there comes a time between now and the next meeting that we have regarding this issue, that there is some authority given, I would request that the town council immediately rethink that, because all the businesses in town will probably line up and ask for a special bond to purchase their businesses, that they may want to really, really be very cautious of the language. If for some reason they find something in the charter that it applies to a private individual having a town buy their property, because that's going to set a heck of a precedent. And I would ask the town council to refrain from any further action, because we need to adjust the charter if that's the case, and we should be giving time to remediate the charter. Thank you.
I guess Lisbon Falls really has it tonight. Economically,
Can
the
you state your
town
name
is
for the
really
record, please?
suffering.
Can you
with-
state your name for the record,
Sorry,
please?
Arlette Anderson, again, 2 Sson. Economically, the town is really suffering. Taxpayers know it. And I was watching the number of people walk out of here. And I feel bad for them, as I also feel bad for all of you. However, the point here is this. Perhaps the town council should take under consideration moving some of these meetings to the Lisbon Community School, where it's big enough to hold everyone. Economically, the town is having a major crisis. It starts from the state and it dwindles down all the way here. Okay, yes, we're trying to figure out how to do all this, but cutting positions, which is ultimately affecting the town, is not helping it. How about seeing how we can pick up the cost, keeping some of these people in position, like Public Works? We're already suffering. Another one, how about looking at what's going on in the town offices? People were waiting in lines. I waited in line for a good 30 minutes one day. Okay, as if I have that time? Do you have that time? No. We're all working people here in this town. Economically, the taxpayers have had enough. We've got to start going back and looking at the basics of how to handle the economics in the town. How about having an economic committee? I would sit on it, and I'm sure there's a few other people that'd be willing to sit on it. That might be beneficial to the town and how we're spending our money. Thank you.
I'm just going to give somebody new a chance for a minute, okay?
Beata Welsh, Lisbon. I'm going to skip most of my speech for today, but I wanted to add to one of to the list of questions that Dean had. I'm looking at this proposition as a very risky proposition. I'm looking at the fact that the town wants to invest in real estate. Of course, people invest in real estate to make a profit. So I want to know, what is the return on investment in this case? And if And if so, the profit that's being made, I'd like to know if that's going back into the taxpayers' pockets. Thanks.
Thank you.
Richard Chaddick, Lisbon Falls.
Mr. Chaddick, can I interrupt you for just a moment, and I apologize. We're just going to take a couple more comments, and then we do need to move
I'm
on
gonna
with
be
our
real
agenda.
quick.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I said it.
Yeah. Oh, I just read in the paper, I think it was, Governor LePage said that state workers weren't going to get a raise in 2014. And then I see ours got a low raise, what, 1.5%. But then these poor guys that only get about 4 hours a week work get cut, and you close down Thursday garbage collection, so to speak. And when they're at the bottom of the totem pole, so do we then forget them and give them even less work? And so what I mean is the amount of money to justify them and still pay somebody else more money. Amen.
Thank you. Dot. Okay, thank you.
Dorothy Fitzgerald again. I don't know how many of you on the council, town employees here realize the number of properties in town that are under foreclosure or short sales. I wonder why that is. Poor economy? Can't pay the taxes? All of the above. Loss of jobs, and yet you want us to go $1 million to buy a property. I love the mill. I love historic properties. But Positive Change Lisbon, the Lisbon Route 196 master plan wants to bring business into town. Do you realize we're losing the TD Bank on Main Street? That's closing November 1st. We're losing a business on Main Street. That's a big hit. Roads. You drive up to the transfer station, the road up to the transfer station is horrible. And then off to the left of that, between the road to the transfer station and the baseball field, high school baseball field, is a dust bowl. You go to the game, the wind is blowing, and the dust blows in your face. This is the way to go to the football field. We have people coming from out of town for football, for baseball games, for soccer games, and this is what they see. This is the impression they get of the town of Lisbon, not just Route 196, but I'm told that, well, that road is going to be redirected. It's going to go someplace else, so we're waiting for the money to do it. When is the money going to be available to do it? And yet we can find $1 million to bond something that can wait another year or two when the economy is better?
Was there somebody over here who wanted to speak? Okay.
I'm Fern Williams-Libby. I live in Lisbon Center. Since I've been here for the last 25 years, my taxes have almost gone up 100%. I live in another town. I have a house. The taxes haven't even gone up 1/4%. I have my trash picked up. They take care of the snow. There's nothing that isn't done in the town, and they haven't really cut back on staff or anywhere. It is true, this place, you know, we have a lot of foreclosures here. We have no development here. People are moving closer to Portland because of the gas. Up to Bangor, they're developing it more and more and more. These concerts by the river bring in thousands of people. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars are spent and dropped in the city of Bangor. What do we have in this town to draw young people here to make their home? All we have is a trail. We have really nothing for restaurants. You come up here, right across the street where Gaziano's is, I don't know who owns the property, but that property is horrible looking. It has one sign almost fallen off. Those beer signs should be taken down before somebody gets hurt. And I don't know who owns this mill, but that person made big, big bucks in the past. And where they put their money, I don't know. But I don't feel that the town of Lisbon should be responsible to clean up the mess for that owner. If that owner made big bucks, he should be made, just like in Brewer. They have to clean it up themselves. Even in the town of Orrington, they sued the people. They had to come back and clean it up. So it's not up to us to tear down that building. It's not up to the taxpayer. 50% of the taxpayers in this town are senior citizens. That is something to look at, taxes going up. And when the state takes it over, you don't get any taxes because the state freezes the property until the person dies if they're in a nursing home. These are new laws coming out. And this town needs to start taking a good look at everything before you go spending money. That person should be here tonight. Tell him why he can't afford to tear it down or clean up his mess.
Thank you. Is there anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Roger, you're the last person raising your hand. I'm going to ask that this be the last person speaking unless somebody has.
I just want to bring up a real quick point. We have put in a new water line from Lisbon to Lisbon Falls up around Route 9. We want to put in a new water tank. We haven't even purchased the property to put the tank on yet. This is all stuff that we've got to purchase in the future. And if we're going to spend $1 million and we're going to float a bond to do something, I would think it would be a lot more beneficial to this community to put that tank up on Route 9 and get the water to Lisbon Falls that they need than it would be to spend it in an old white elephant. Just a thought.
All right. So the next order.
Next item is the audience participation response.
I'll let you go first.
The first question that Dean had to approve the special election. The reason the council chose, and they can back up this, is that there is going to be a bond question for the water department. That's in the works. That will be on your November ballot. The taxpayers of Lisbon, that's something that they will vote on, but the only people who will get charged for that will be the users of the water system. So if you're not on the water system, you won't pay for that except through your hydrant fees. Those will go up, I'm sure, but that's not something that the taxpayers fund. It's something that the water department or the users of the water system pay. One of the reasons the council chose to have this special, as a special election, is because of the water department bond. They wanted to make sure that the water department bond stood by itself and didn't confuse the public to say that it was two bonds and pick one or the other. They should stand by themselves, but that is a decision that the council was waiting to hear from you tonight, whether you thought that was a good idea or not. And that, again, will answer, I think, your second question, Dean, why not November 5th? And why the 24th? Once we have a public hearing and once they sign the bond warrant and all the other documents that if we are going to sign them tonight, the 24th is the earliest we can hold that election. We can't do it any earlier. So that will be pushed off because I'm sure the council is not going to sign those documents tonight. So it won't be one the 24th. Okay? So that shouldn't be a concern. And the $3,000. To answer a question also about the site and contamination, the Rumbo Mill site by itself does not have contamination. The DEP has a hazardous waste closure on it. It was done by an engineering firm called CV and Mayer. And I've got a disc, if anybody would like to read the documentation. We have done our due diligence. That's what we have been doing in the last 8 months. This is a private industry. It came to the town of Lisbon. We have made sure we took our time, and we did it confidentially because she's a private citizen. It's a private company. They came to us. So until we had all the information, we weren't willing to start discussing it. And it took us that long between talking to the DEP, talking to the CV Mayor. It takes time to get all this information in place. So before we start to speak, we have our facts in order, and I think we do. I think that answers all the questions that I had.
I just noticed, I have a couple other notes. Mr. Neto asked about a bike rack at the walking path, and we'll see what we can find out about that for you, Mr.
There's
Neto.
nothing. Nobody has, Mr. Neto has made, you're the only person that has made that request.
Okay.
And that was this week, so,
Okay.
Somebody address my question, please.
I'm almost to it. Are you referring to the fact that your taxes have gone up, that you have to fight for them every year, or about the fact that the Hudon Road area needs repair? I'm sorry.
That's okay. It was about the profit margin, because this is an investment and we are in a sense the lenders.
profit margin for purchasing the mill?
Whatever the whole project is, this is an investment. So I'd like to know what profits we are looking at and whether those are coming back to the taxpayers.
Steve, I've talked to Steve a lot about this, because I want to make sure I'm clear on it, because people ask us, not just in here. And it's not a matter of we buy it, we tear it down, we sell it for a load of money. That's not going to happen, and everybody knows that. And I think it's why so many people are unwilling to think more about it. For me, having gone to the master plan meetings that I've been able to attend, having met with our town planner, knowing that that area of town is so important, how it looks. We have people constantly telling us how bad the town looks as you enter it. And our tax base is not going to go up unless our town looks like people want to come here. And that's not just residential people, that's commercial and business people. So that's just my opinion. It may not agree with everybody on the council, but that's how I see it. And so in that sense, I see that property giving back to the town of Lisbon in a number of different ways. There's a boat launch there, there's an old baseball diamond there. We would be able to subdivide into parcels and sell those individual parcels for redevelopment, or sell multiple parcels to a developer. There are multiple options to what you could do with that piece of property. We don't just want to tear it down and put a lawn on it. And we don't want to take, Mrs. Miller and Miller Industries wanted to demolish that building themselves. And we had enough people 4 years ago telling us that we needed to try and make that into a business. We needed to revitalize it. We needed to do something with it. So the town went to Miller Industries and requested that she try to sell it, which she has done. She's had less than a dozen bites on the place, and nobody's willing to invest the amount of money required to make that building do anything. So once again, we do have the question that's among many legitimate questions, that we should allow the Miller Industries to demolish it, when in fact, we asked